Man Up, a program dedicated to inspiring and helping men live lives of heroic virtue. And now, it's time to Man Up.
Welcome to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. We are broadcasting on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network. I am Joe Stopulos, and today I'm going to have reflections on lessons learned in the mountains. Similar conversation, similar idea to the an episode I did a few years back, probably a couple years at this point, called Going on Adventure, where I outlined a lot of the intricacies of my family vacations and things I've learned from that. This is a little different, as I'm getting back recently from an adventure with 3 other Catholic men in the wilderness of Colorado, and some thoughts I had on that pertain to living out this life as a Catholic man. We'll start in prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So I have a few things I've learned in the last month and a half, and some reflections on my family vacation, which took place in August, and then most recently, here in the middle of September, an opportunity to go on adventure with 3 other guys from the area, 3 friends of mine, and some takeaways from all of them. And I think that, I don't want to be redundant, especially with the episode I know I've already done on going on adventure. And that one was really about our family vacations, right? I think my wife and I both have this. We love going out in the wilderness. We love going out and doing things with the kids. And there's also some level of evangelization to other big families and other families. I think it's daunting. It took other people to inspire us to be able to make the leap of faith that we could do this. When we saw other large families doing it, it gave us the green light to say, hey, maybe we should give this a try. Funny how that first little invitation from families of ours and friends of ours to see that it could be done has led it to become what now a major part of my life. It's kind of funny. People think all the time that I've literally had people ask if I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm like, I never went camping until I was literally married. I was in my mid-20s by the time I went camping for the first time. But it's become such a part of my life. And so it was hiking and being outdoors and all these things. But it was through the influence of my wife, for sure. Kristen grew up camping, but then also other friends of ours. And so it's been, nowadays, it's such a huge part of our life is seeing this country and spending quality family time together out in the mountains or wherever we're going. And we'll talk a bit about that on the other side of the break. But the crux of it's going to be is I actually this time was invited to go on a backpacking trip, something I've never done before. And really, one of the first things one of the themes we'll talk about in the next side is I love doing new things. I love trying new things. I think when you talk about like a liberal arts education, this idea of expanding your horizons and trying things, it was definitely something that I was interested in trying. I've done a lot of camping, but never doing it with just a backpack. And then I was also really excited about the guys I was with. And then the place we were going called the Maroon Bells Trail in Colorado. So I had to do a short break here, but I really want to set the stage for these lessons we can learn from nature, lessons we can learn from doing things that are out of our comfort zones, and kind of some of the things that spoke to me while I've been really out there for especially the last week, but then prior to that with my family last month. So we're headed to a short break, and we'll be right back.
Support for programming provided by Iowa PBS. In October 1979, a humble Iowa farmer captured the heart of the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope John Paul II, sparking a historic event that would change the state's history forever. Iowa PBS commemorates the 45th anniversary of the Pope's historic visit with an all-new documentary reliving the spiritual journey of a lifetime. Meet several people involved for a unique look at the logistical and spiritual planning it took for such a momentous event. Tune in to the Pope's visit to Iowa on Monday, October 7th at 8 p.m. on Iowa PBS.
Support for programming provided by Modus Maryland, offering a wide selection of clothing for a baptism, first communion, quinceañera, wedding, or any special occasion, as well as accessories and jewelry. 4120 Southeast 14th Street in Des Moines and online modusmaryland.com.
Support provided by Divine Treasures, a Catholic book and gift store serving the Des Moines community since 1992. Divine Treasures, 5701 Hickman Road, Des Moines, 515-255-5230. Thank you, Divine Treasures, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Gold Dome Buildings. Gold Dome is locally owned and operated, serving Des Moines and surrounding areas since 1992. Builders of garages, farm buildings, customized backyard sheds, and playhouses. GoldDomeIowa.com.
Listen to Iowa Catholic Radio anywhere. Download the Iowa Catholic Radio app.
My help comes from you. You're right here.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. Things I learned in the mountains. That's one way to call this episode. Themes from things I've learned from adventure, however you want to pitch it. But a lot of cool things that took place over the last month and a half or so. So family vacation was in August, and then most recently this backpacking trip in September. And again, I will touch on the family vacation from August, but again, I've done an entire episode already on the logistics of how we do it and whatnot, and you can go back in the archives and listen to that. But some of the themes are reoccurring to both. And I'm going to start with the one most recently out in Colorado. So was invited by some friends to go on a backpacking trip through Colorado. And essentially, the name of the pass is the Maroon Bells Four Peak Trail Loop, essentially. So it's about 28 miles is what I ended up clocking in at. And you could do it really over 2 nights or 3, depending on how fast you want to be. And it allows you basically to just spend quality time out in nature, totally away from your phone. There's no cell phone reception, none of that. And just to be, it's a situation where in my life, the only other time I was even close to this was when we were in Glacier a few years ago, where I went about the same time without a cell phone. Essentially, you're in there for, I was probably 3 or 4 days without a cell phone then, and we were definitely 4 days, Wednesday to Saturday, without a cell phone. And so and also this time I didn't have kids, so it's a little different because now it's much more prayerful, it's much more quiet, and much more reflective than the ones when you're just corralling children up a mountain. But some themes I got out of this, and I think that are important for us as we're trying to live lives of virtue, as we're trying to live lives in accordance with God's will for us. And the first one is Catholic friendship. So the first thing that comes out of this, and I don't know how many of these are going to be totally new. Maybe a couple of them will be totally new. But I definitely re-emphasized and strengthened my belief in the importance of these things. So we'll start with Catholic friendship. So, Kristen, my beautiful bride, was asked by her mom so Kristen, first off, thank you if you're listening. She was the one who said, "Hey, you should do this." I mean, I know what it's like to have the kids by myself for a day, let alone 7. Right, so an entire week where she had the kids. And so, first off, this is not a pitch for you to leave your wife and children for a week. That's not at all what this is. But again, it does help to have a great wife who encouraged me to understand that this is going to be something special. And so, anyway, her mom was asking her, "Hey, is he just going out in the mountains for fun, or is he going on a retreat, or what is it?" And she kind of laughed and says, "Well, it's kind of both. It's not a explicit retreat, but when you're surrounded by other men who are strong Catholic men who are striving for holiness, it can turn anything into a retreat." And I've talked about in the past how we did a retreat one time at Tim Jameson's house, and it was all the fun stuff that we would normally do, hang out and drink beers and shoot guns or whatever these things were for a retreat weekend. But man, we prayed a lot, and the whole thing was focused on God. How just doing that little thing, just changing the people you're with, who are focused on the Lord, can basically baptize anything. And so Kristen's point to her mom was pretty dead on, which is to say that Catholic friendship, when you're in any event, whatever it is, if you're doing it with other great men, it can be baptized in some way. So this trip, in addition to obviously having to take 35-pound packs up and down mountains for the course of 4 days, it was also steeped in prayer. And so we started every day with morning prayer. Most nights we were able to get evening prayer in if we had camp set up fast enough. We'd do night prayer if we could. We said rosaries on the walk. There was one moment on this trip which we hit over, just you turn a corner, and all of a sudden, possibly one of the most beautiful views I've ever seen in my entire life of this valley that I would imagine in the course of human history only tens of thousands of people have ever seen this view, because it's really hard to get to. And we just sat there and someone suggests let's pray a rosary right now. And so it's one of those things where when you're with other guys who are ardently striving for holiness, this is that's something that would naturally come out of it, right? Someone suggesting, "Hey, let's just sit down and thank God for this beautiful moment." I will say that is of all the differences between the hiking I do with kids and the hiking I did last week is with kids, the ability to just stop on the side of a cliff. Literally, we were just right off a cliff and just soak it in and pray. That's not quite as open of an opportunity. But that said, we embraced it. And so this entire trip was really around the church. It was around becoming better men and becoming closer with the Lord. And I think that allowed us to do that. I think that this having other guys pushing each other and openly just openly embracing this idea of the faith. And we were saying morning prayer on mountains next to other people. I mean, it's not a very packed hike, but like you're just doing it right in front of other people. And I think it's a great way of evangelizing. And I think it's a great way for us to, when you're up on top of a mountain, it's really hard to, I should say it's hard not to, but if there's ever a time to see God's beauty in front of you while you're praying, especially the Psalms, like, man, it's obvious when you're up there. So I think that maybe the first lesson is this idea of strong Catholic friendships, but then baptizing what you're doing, right? If you're playing, you can go play a game of basketball and you can baptize it. You can make sure that you're doing it in a way that is a Christian way of playing basketball, whatever these things are. The point is you can go on this hike, and a lot of people would, and they'd fly through it, and they wouldn't take any time to pray. They wouldn't take any time to thank God for the ability to do this, whatever these things are. But when you are surrounded by strong Catholic men, it's going to make it a spiritual experience as well. So that was kind of the first thought, is this idea of going and strengthening these Catholic friendships. The next piece is adventure, and this is something new kind of for me, I would say. This going out and doing new things. And so I have in my head, as I'm thinking through, I want to, as I grow up, as I experience life, the idea of doing new things is more and more, I think, exciting to me. I think it's easy for us as we grow older, especially with kids and whatnot, to getting the monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. And especially for me, I'm energized by the idea of doing new things, which is why, quite frankly, why I thought it was no small task, not a small task, but no small sacrifice on my part, knowing what Kristen would be going through with the kids to go on to do this. I mean, I just know it's a huge lift, and so for me, it was all around. I wanted to obviously, yes, do the hike, see these cool things, but also just try something new, to get out of my comfort zone and try something new. I just feel like the more I do this, the more often that I don't regret it. I feel like I become a better person having experiences like this. Experiences, not just camping, but any new experience makes you a more well-rounded person. So this is one, and it's not. I'll try not to be too overly sentimental, but as I'm getting ready to embark on this this series on marriage, on heroic marriages, one of the things that really hit me as I was sitting out there, as I was sitting up in the mountains, and I was experiencing these incredible views, these incredible scenes. And really, this hike, again, it's called the Four Pass Loop in the Maroon Bells. You should look it up. Every view was just incredible. It was just the whole time, that's an incredible view. Oh my gosh, that's an incredible view. Wow. It was just the entire time over the course of 4 days. But it really hit me hard, because usually when I'm seeing these sights, my wife is next to me. The person I love the most in the world is next to me. And it really hit me that, man, I wish I could do this with her. I wish she was here to see this. Because, as you know, pictures don't do things justice, and me talking about them doesn't do it justice, and it doesn't bring her to that point. And so just this really brought home this idea that if you love someone, you want to experience these things together. And this is the first time I've really done something away from her. And it kept coming back to me and back to me. And so, it's the first time I've been away from my children and my wife that long ever, times 2. And, distance makes the heart grow fonder, or whatever you want to say, or absence makes the heart grow fonder. But at the same time, what it really did was, for me, was to realize how much more I enjoy things when I'm with my wife. And I hope that, that's, as we get into this marriage series coming up here, that might be a theme that I will grow on, that'll play out. But there's a John Mayer song called 3x5 off his first album, and it talks about you should have seen that sunrise with your own eyes. You should have been there with me. Next time I do this, I want you here. I don't want to send you a card. I don't want to show you a picture. I want you here. And that really, I just thought about that like this morning, and it kind of hit me like, okay, that's exactly the theme of, if you really do love someone, you want them there to experience these things with you. And that was just something that I felt the whole time. I felt it the entire time. And so that was just a really new experience for me, because every other time I've experienced these incredible views, by and large, Kristen's been there, and the kids too. And not to throw the kids under the bus, I love the kids. Again, can't sit on top of a cliff with kids. We've done it before. It's not nearly as relaxing at all. It just isn't. So if you have kids, drive to the Grand Canyon, show them it. Just don't really get out of the car. It's not a whole lot of fun. It gets a lot less fun as you're watching your 3-year-olds peek off the side of it. So next thing, and this kind of goes back to the Catholic friendships and doing things with men who are on fire for the Lord, who are in tune with the earth and in tune with nature. So it's now the second night, and we've got the first night we were too high, couldn't do a fire. Second night we're now down, and we can have a campfire, and we're set up in plenty of time, and we got the fire going, we're hanging out. And I had brought a book of poetry, just a collection, like 100 best poems or whatever. And I brought it mostly for myself, honestly. So I brought the 3 books I brought were 2 copies of Shorter Christian Prayer, so we could do the hours. And then I brought a book of poetry. And that was really just going to be for me. If we had some downtime, I knew we were going to take it slow. I could get on top of a mountain and read some poetry or something. And sure enough, we just got on the bonfire. It's pitch black, so each person would grab their light, and we'd pass around this book. Everyone would choose out a poem or 2, and it was just this really cool moment that I've never experienced anything like it. And obviously, my natural preference would be to pull a guitar out and sing songs or something, which, again, you're in nature. There's no one around you in this place. Poetry is the next best thing, I think. And it was this really cool moment of each of us just kind of going around and reciting poetry and being like just having this really cool, real moment as men. I think we need to reclaim that. I mean, we do need to reclaim that. And, getting back, I think I talk so often about if you sit around to talk about sports, it's so surface level, whereas something like poetry is real. I mean, it speaks to the soul. And so does song, all right? So I think song does too. And it was just a really human moment, one I've never had before. And it kind of happened fairly organically. I mean, it was like I did not plan on that happening, and I think it just kind of happened. And it was, all of us agree, it was just a really cool night to do that. Another lesson learned is don't bring eggs into the mountains. A friend of ours brought eggs that he was going to cook up for us, and eggs will crack, like basically explode when you get about 12,000 feet, and it's cold at night. So just in case you were looking at backpacking and bringing some eggs, you now know to just maybe next time don't do that. So that's a little lesson learned there. Big mess, huge mess, but we got through it. Okay, next thing, stars and God. So you can imagine you're 12 miles away, basically, from civilization, from the closest. No, you're 12 miles from being 8 miles from civilization. I mean, you're 12 miles from a road. We were way out there, way up there. So the stars were going to be incredible. And I was lucky enough, 2 of the nights it was clear. So I got out of my tent like 3 in the morning and I just walked out with my bear spray in one hand and a light in the other, just like looking like a hunter for a bear here, and just wanted to sneak into a pasture to lie down. So I got to lie down in the field and look at the stars for probably 20 or 30 minutes. It was pretty cold, but it's probably still out there for 30 minutes, something like that. And just shooting stars every couple minutes, and you could see them. You could see the Milky Way. Everything was just lit up. I mean, it was amazing, and it really is. I mean, I just can't help when you're in those moments but being like, God created this. I don't know how anyone else would think otherwise. It's just you sit there and you're so in tune with at least I am, with nature, with God, when you're up in the mountains. Even if it doesn't matter if you're in the mountains, you could be in a field in Iowa, but when you see a full sky the way it was created, the way it was intended prior to us stealing the stars from the sky in the cities, it's one of those things that I just can't encourage people enough. If you haven't gone out and just experienced enormous night skies in the middle of the night, literally set an alarm if you have to, out in the country, just to feel closeness with God at that hour of the night it's an incredible feeling. So I got kind of emotional, and honestly in the middle of the field by myself at 3 in the morning or whatever it was. But yeah, always a great experience. I never regret getting cold and being tired for a little bit to go do it. Last thing, and this is just an interesting kind of thing that took place when we were in Yellowstone. Now I'm going with my family. We talked to some friends of ours who we made at the campsite next to us, and they were from England. They're from London. My son loved their London accents. He, by the end of the trip, started talking like he was from England, and it was very funny. So 3 days with kids from London, he has taken on their accent. But I asked him, "Why do you love America? Why do you come all the way? There's so many great parks and so many great things to see." And he just said the vastness of America cannot be understated. How large America is. He goes, we have things in London, in Europe, that are big. He goes, but nothing like this. He goes, we will drive for hundreds of miles and see tons of things. He goes, I want our kids to understand how big the world is. And there's a big world there, especially in America, big, huge, beautiful world. Which brings me to the point on, like, when we're talking, people love to think, I'm going to go to the Alps. I'm going to go to see this incredible thing here. Where, like, we are in America, especially people who are listening who are in Iowa. It was a 1-day drive to Aspen, 12 hours. You can get to Estes Park in about 8.5 hours, depending on where you're at. You can get to some incredible things here in America in a day drive. A couple tanks of gas and you can get there. And, it's, to me, I just think people miss. They have their eyes set in Europe and other places in the world, and there's great things all over. But you can see some very amazing things right here in America. I think Glacier National Park is one of the coolest, if not, is one of the coolest places in the entire world. It's a bit more drive. It's about 22 hours, so it's a couple days. But there's no excuse to not experience nature here in America. We're so blessed, and there are people coming from all over the world to come see this. So just some quick reflections. I hope that you can hear my passion for this. Again, this is something that was not in my life 10 years ago at all. I'd never been to a park until I think 2017 or thereabouts. I mean, it's just like 7 years ago. And so this is a new thing for me, but as you can tell, something I'm obviously very passionate about. So I will wrap up these final thoughts on the next side of the break. Stick around and we'll be right back.
Thank you to our business partner, Big Red Q Quick Print. Family owned and operated since 1980, Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. BigRedQ-Des Moines.com. BigRedQ-Des Moines.com.
St. Vincent de Paul helps so many people.
You're right, Zoe. St. Vincent de Paul Executive Director Steve Havman here. We are serving over 32,000 local residents with food, clothing, furniture, and financial assistance annually. We invite you to learn more about all of our life-changing programs that positively impact so many Iowans by simply Googling St. Vincent de Paul of Des Moines. Our mission is to help those in need become self-sufficient through education, community connectedness, and unconditional support. Help us, help others.
Even kids!
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the number 4 saleia.com.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Edible Arrangements, for their support, offering fruit bouquets and gourmet dip chocolate treats. On the go or have it delivered for that special occasion, ediblearrangements.com.
Fast Signs is a custom sign and visual solutions company with an extensive selection of digital signage, interior and exterior signs, banners, and vehicle wraps. Learn more at fastsigns.com. Thank you, Fast Signs in Clive, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Like Iowa Catholic Radio on Facebook.
My help comes from you. You're right here.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. Final thoughts on lessons learned here from being in the mountains for the last week, but then also last month, and a few things that I just want to reiterate, and then some final kind of original thoughts. First off, again, Catholic friendships, the importance of those, the idea of iron sharpening iron, the idea of being the summation of or the average of the 5 closest friends you have. I just, the more I live life, the more I go through this, the more I realize how true it is. If I do that exact same trip with 3 guys who don't care about the faith, we just want to talk about, God knows what the whole time, it's not going to be the same trip. one of these things is going to lead you closer to God. The other one's going to lead you farther away from it. And that's just, it really is. It's a binary decision. It's going to either bring you closer to God or it isn't. And so the same exact trip with the exact same itinerary looks totally different, feels totally different, and I'm a different person afterwards just because of the three other people on it. And that's a fact of life. And so that isn't just for 4-day trips into the mountains. That is for your everyday activities. That is for everything you're doing. So Catholic friendship continues to be having good, strong Christian friendships throughout life. It continues to be a theme of life that I've now experienced more than ever the importance of. I think this is just one more example of that. And then again, baptizing the activities you're doing and taking things that are fun that you're doing regularly, and making them centered around the Lord. I think that's another quick takeaway from this trip. The other one I want to just touch on lastly is I talked about the vastness of America, and that really did come from these English friends we made when we were in the Tetons. That's where that was, Tetons, and it was just great, right? So one of the things I do, another thing that's just, this is something that you only really experience when you're out in specifically the national parks, the big parks, in the Colorado parks, is you'll meet people from all over the world. Now you'll still meet people from all over the country if you're going to other national parks, but I mean the Tetons, Yellowstone, and then some of these big Colorado parks, you're really meeting people from all over the world. And so for me, it's like I get to travel to another country in some capacity while staying here, meaning I can become friends with these people and have really good conversations around campfires with them and really pick their brains on why are they here? What are the things they like better about America that compared to their own country, or vice versa? What are those things in their own country that they really like that they think is strange here, they don't like here? And it gives me the ability to connect with people. So this time, let's see, we met someone from Finland, and then someone from Italy. Probably talked to them for like an hour and a half over lunch. Again, we had became friends with people from England last month, and all that to say, like I love getting to know all these people from all over the world, and it's good for me to have appreciation for what we have that's good here, and then maybe are my eyes open to some of the things that aren't as good here. And again, that vastness of America idea that came straight from this guy from England who's just like, you guys don't realize how special this is. He said, you guys invented the national park system, which would have been late 1800s, early 1900s when we actually started setting aside land for the public, like to have a actual set aside piece of land. Because Europe was basically already cultivated at that point. By the time you guys came up with this idea, by the time it actually got formulated and was like becoming a normal thing by the 1930s, most of Europe is well settled. And so there was just way less land to set aside. Whereas in America, we have these huge amounts of vast landscapes. So all that to say, this idea of, again, back to a liberal arts education, of meeting people from all over the place, doing these camping trips has really allowed me to do that. It's been very cool to pick the brains of people from around the world on their cultures, our cultures, and all those other things. So that to say, I think maybe the final parting thought is, this idea of getting out of our comfort zones and doing new things. That clearly was the case for me in this most recent trip, but then going back even 7 years, just the idea of going to national parks and doing all these other things has made me the person I am today. It's made me a more well-rounded person, and given me these experiences that otherwise I never would have had. So some final thoughts. Again, I'm obviously coming off of a pretty high time here. Just the idea of this closeness of God and friendship that I experienced in the last week or so. And so I wanted to share some of those thoughts with you all. So thank you for joining me today on Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am Joe Stopulos. It's time to man up.
Man Up, inspiring men to live out their call to holiness.